Our national park is just a few years old, but it's beginning to improve Paterson's image as a place to visit, as a place to live, to work, and invest. Around 200,000 visitors came last year. And they go off on flights, many more. And when the entire 52-acre national park, which actually includes an historic Negro League baseball stadium, the New York Black Yankees, and the New York Cubans had their home field, not in New York, guys, but actually in Paterson's Hinchcliffe Stadium. And when the entire park is built out with new trails and lighting and all the accoutrements that the Park Service really represents the gold standard in achieving, the Paterson National Park will attract over 1 million visitors a year. We are working on a new visitor center for the National Park. Guess what? We're going to call it the Alexander Hamilton Center. It's located directly beneath a statue of our $10 founding father, one that was dedicated by Nicholas Murray Butler, then a young president of Columbia University, who trekked from Morningside Heights to Paterson and said, you know, because of all the great accomplishments that Hamilton made and what he did for our country, any city or town in America could have a statue of him, but no city in America had a greater claim to a statue than Paterson because of what Hamilton did here. We will have a main gallery which will show some of those products of Paterson and tell the story of that Negro League stadium and really develop this idea of what Hamilton was trying to do in Paterson, because it's a very inspiring story for everyone who visits Paterson today, and especially for the young people of Paterson who heard their teachers maybe at one time say, you know, Alexander Hamilton founded the city, but they weren't paying attention to that. But now that there is this incredible hip-hop musical that they have learned word for word, and in some classrooms in Paterson actually start the day, not as Renee and I did with the Lord's Prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance, but with Lin-Manuel Miranda's rap. And so I think the next image might show the way we're going to depict Hamilton's vision in this visitor center that actually has a view of the falls that inspired him. And I think what's striking about the musical and its ability to resonate not just with young kids in Paterson who like hip hop, but with my kids in Brooklyn who are hipsters and love music, but normally don't like the stuff that I like, and my wife who normally doesn't like the stuff that I like, and I remember going to see one of the workshop performances of. Probably about 8 or 9 months before the show opened to the public with Adele and her husband John Guare. And here you have this great playwright and the sophisticated historic preservationist he chose as his wife, who also embrace it just as these young kids in Paterson do. So it's multi-generational, it cuts across every single class and race in this country today. And I was in London over the summer with my wife. Turns out they're all excited because Hamilton is coming to London and will open there next year. So kind of we're going to take over England. That'll show them. The National Park Service celebrates its centennial this year. Please stay afterwards for the birthday cake. For the first century of its existence, the Park Service focused on bringing people to the great wilderness parks of the West. But what we did in Paterson is we brought a park to the people. My hometown that used to make things is at the earliest stages of a beginning to revitalize itself by transforming former industrial areas into places people want to be, not flee. We've seen this in other parts of the world, the Beijing Arts Center at Arts District 798, in Łódź, where Renee and I have some lineage, the Manufaktura buildings there. And of course in New York, the High Line was really based on an industrial manufacturing railroad. We actually have a master plan funded by the state, prepared by James Corner Field Operations at the time that the High Line was opening. So we really, in Paterson, celebrate the past by looking to the future. And as Alexander Hamilton taught us, the future is what we make it. So I hope that all you will visit Paterson. The Wall Street Journal has an article, I guess a few days ago, about the decline of Paterson and how horrible it is, and that's historically true for recent history. But the Washington Post today has an incredible article on Paterson as a destination for foodies, and talks about some of this food writer's favorite restaurants, a Syrian restaurant, a hot dog spot. The Texas Wiener, I might add, was not invented in Texas. It was invented in Paterson. Go for it all the way. And I had an Uber driver last night drive me from Penn Station when my train got in from Washington late last night down to the financial district. And turns out he's from Jordan, recently moved to the United States, and is a big fan of a particular Jordanian restaurant that he recommended to me. And so before all the crowds come, get thee to Paterson. We'll show you around. Darren's got wonderful park rangers on the scene. There's terrific food, and we'll show you some of the first Colt revolvers. We'll show you a couple of engines that were used in the building of the Panama Canal. 200 of Paterson-made engines were used. We've got one that was liberated from the canal zone just before the handover by a mayor in Paterson we call the Great Train Robber. Or as he put it, they got the canal, but we got engine 299. So there's lots to see in Paterson. For many years, I myself would say of my hometown, I wish. When Bill Weigel and I were in law school, I would, on many mornings, go to the out-of-town newsstand in the square and pick up a copy of the New York Times and grab some, I thought it was expensive Kenyan coffee at a place down the block. One morning, there's an article, and it's an article that the Regional Plan Association, this is my first year of law school, 1972, the Regional Plan Association of New York came up with a radical idea. Create a national park in Paterson. Big photo of the falls and the statue of Alexander Hamilton. I'm kind of going around saying, hey, this is great, this is big. And my classmates in law school are saying, what does this mean? I mean, did the Celtics win last night? And I told them, and they kind of laughed. But for many years, I would say of Paterson, I wish. And when a United States Senator and a congressman came to me, and I really thought about it, having read Ron Chernow's book, and was so inspired by the Paterson chapter and the story of Hamilton's life generally, then I said, I will. So come see us.